Hi everyone, it's me, Marcy, and today I'm going to be making a balance bead for you. And we're going to do just a little black dog like a Labrador on top of a ball or on top of a cushion. And so I think we should get started, don't you? Okay, I'm going to reverse the phone and I'm trying a new microphone, so let's see how this works, okay? Okay, I'm going to reverse this now and click us in. It looks like we're about where we need to be. I'm going to move us over just a tiny bit and see where my hands are. Okay, I got it here. And let's fire up the torch. We'll use this one. So I'm not used to using a headset, and this is something very different for me. I'm hoping that it works out well. Got some schmutz on the end. There we go. Got that one taken care of. So I've been making elephants on balls, dogs on balls, balls on balls, just about everything. Balance beads are two beads that are individual beads that go together and form one bead. So if you are new to sculpture and this is something that's a little bit different for you, you might want to consider watching my video, my demonstration on how to do things, and then perhaps you might want to practice the dog by itself first and then go ahead and put it on top of a ball in a future bead. Because sometimes there's some skills there that are involved that just make it a little bit harder to do it all at once if you don't have any experience in it. And I'm just going to use, I love 1/16 mandrels. They keep my beads a little bit smaller. I kind of like that. Okay, so let's put them on a red perch. And I was thinking the other day how cute this would be to make a fire hydrant and have the dog standing on the fire hydrant. And if anybody's interested, I could probably show you that another time. But let's just start off with a ball. I like red. I want contrast. The dog's going to be black. And part of the reason why he's going to be black is because I just think it's going to be easier for you in the long run if you aren't bogged down by a lot of details. We'll go with kind of a basic form, not specific to a specific dog. It's going to be probably an adopted dog, one that's a mix. You've probably rescued this dog and turned it into a bead. So I'm just adding some red glass, and I've got this handy dandy unit. You guys have one of these? Man, it's been a long time since I've had one of these out. You can see I'm going to need to add a lot more glass. I think they're for marbles. I never use it, but I thought, if I'm making a ball or something like that, this would be easy. And you probably have those other tools that do something similar also. If any of you have those, then use those instead. If you do it freehand, who cares? That'd be great. Or you can do a cone or some other shape also. This isn't what I normally make. So let's just get it started. I'm just rolling it through there. It looks like I need a little bit more on the end. See how that works? So I need just a touch along the end. You could also make it flat. You could make it a cone. You could make it a barrel. You don't have to make a ball. That's probably more than I need. See, I think that shape would be great too, because then you'd have a good solid place for putting each of the legs. I like that. But first, let's heat this up. And round it out just a tiny bit. We're about there. Okay, so for the dog's body, we are going to use black, of course, And we need to start the body a little ways up because we need to have some length for the legs. And I'm using Dip and Go Blue Sludge. Anybody else use it? Go ahead, write it in the comments if you do. I love this bead release. For sculpture, I think it's wonderful. It holds like concrete. It's easy to use, and when I use it, it starts out this kind of blue-gray. I'm pointing to it with my glass. And then when you heat it up, the first heat, it goes to a darker gray, and then it goes to this white. So you want it to have hit the white stage when you use it. And you can probably tell I am left-handed, and that shouldn't be a problem for you. I know that you guys have had left-handed teachers before. So I am making kind of a shape, just a basic bead shape, while I'm keeping the ball warm. And I'm just letting it round up the way we always do with spacer beads. We're going to make it get a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to press in on the sides a little bit, flatten it a touch. Let's get a little more glass on it while we're keeping the ball warm. Now, the other thing I was going to mention, when you make the ball, it'd be really fun if you put some of your own special magic to it. And by that, I mean, what are you known for? You like to do dots? Do you like to do stringer work? Do you like to do transparents with interesting things inside of it? What do you like to do? A little silver glass, maybe? Go ahead and make your ball something fun and fantastic. Don't forget you're going to have some feet landing on it, some dog feet. But other than that, you've got a lot of space that you can do something fun with. And that's one of the ways of personalizing a bead like this. If you've taken a class from somebody and you add on some of your own special magic, it kind of starts bringing the bead into your style. And that makes it really fun. And your friends will recognize that it's yours too. If they don't already know your style and they go, hey, I know you do a lot with dots or whatever it is, and they'll see your take on it. Okay, so I added a little bit more. I did my shape, I flattened it on each side a little bit, and now I'm adding some to each end to lengthen the body while I'm keeping the bottom bead warm. So you see how I just place it on the very end, see how hot it is, and then I heat it up so that the glass flows between each other. One side, two side. And I don't want it to ball up on itself, so I'm holding it so the hot side is down, so it extends. If it starts extending too much, I hold it so the hot side's up and it contracts into the center. Meanwhile, we're keeping the ball warm. We're going to add a little more length. When you're doing that, you're thinking, okay, so as I'm adding this length, one side is going to be the tail side and the other side is going to be the chest, neck, and head side. So as I'm looking at this and I'm deciding that, oh, this body is about the length that I want, I think is one side a little bit bigger? Is what do I want to do with it? What does it look like? And these are about the same in size, pretty close. So it really doesn't matter. So this side is a little longer than this side. I would build the neck and chest off of this side because it's got a little more length to it. Let's attach it to the other bead first, though. I'm going to do some legs. They're going to be longish legs. If I'm concerned that the legs are too long, all I need to do is add a little bit of glass to the bottom, and then I've got a little bit wider body. Let's do that. I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so let's say I started my bead a little bit high. I'm just adding another layer of glass along the bottom. Watch this trick. Ta-da! Now we have a wider bottom on it, a little bit bigger body on the dog. You can even it up a little bit. You are the boss of this glass, so you make it go the way that you want it to go. Just make sure that you heat your lower bead the whole time while you're messing around with the dog's body. Okay, it's got a little bit wider body now. Heating it up so it's all going together. There we go. And I'm evening it out a little bit. Boom, boom, done. Okay, so we need some legs on this dog. This is still the longer part. We're going to have that come up a little bit. Let's do the back legs first, or at least that's what I normally do. I heat up some glass, and I'm going to go from the thigh down to the ball, to the tip of the leg. And we aren't going to put all the joints in that you normally do on a dog, because this is just kind of fun and whimsical. And this is our first time. If we get a line from there to there relatively straight, we're doing pretty well. You want to heat up some glass. Going to start on the thigh and just bring it on down. And I'm kind of pushing it into the ball, flame cutting it. And then I stop there. If it's too thin and it starts sinking in, reverse it and have it go that way. Or take a brass tool and gently push it out. And while that's cooling a little bit, heat up your ball, heat up your body on the other side. Keep your glass warm. So now it's attached there with one leg. I don't want that attachment to show a whole lot, so let's just heat it in so it attaches well to the body and melts in. You're using gravity a lot. Where do you want that glass to go? Which way do you want it to fall if it's warm? Just kind of think. It's all a bunch of logic when you think about it. And this is kind of hard because this is red and this is black and it's hard to see the difference, isn't it? Let's heat up some more glass and we'll do the other leg. And I have 2 rods. This was rather thin, but I would have 2 rods no matter how thick they are. It's good to have backup in case you need it. Let's do the same thing on this side. Start up on the thigh and bring it down and touch right there. And we let it cool. This one's bent forward a little bit. Let's straighten it just a touch. I just took my brass stump shaper and touched it down. Going to heat up the red bead down below. Going to heat up that leg that we just added so that it attaches well. And don't forget, when you're making your body, you're going to add some thickness that way because of the attachment. It kind of thickens up the back side of the body. So now we have the 2 back legs, part of the body, and the ball. We're partway attached. We're going to build up the front of the dog first, and then we're going to add the other 2 legs. But meanwhile, we're going to keep everything warm. And you want to be sure. You don't want to melt it all the way in. You want some definition, but you do want to have them well attached because that's what's going to hold your bead together, isn't it? So let's build up the front of the dog a little bit. I'm adding some glass, and I'm raising it above the rest of the body. But I'm attaching it well first. I'm heating the whole thing up, letting gravity take care of it. And while it's cooling, we're going to heat up the bottom section and the legs and the back of the body. Keep everything else warm. Now you can see body going up as if it's a neck there. We're going to put the head on top of that. But first, let's add some legs in. Now that we have that part going up, we start those a little bit lower and come back and attach. And if your glass is really hot, it's going to want to go towards the mandrel. So watch the heat, watch the color of your glass, and watch which way it goes. Keep the bottom red ball warm. So let's heat up the top of it and attach it well. If it gets too much warm and it starts sinking in, put it upside down so it falls back out again while it's cooling. You can adjust things with your brass stump shaper or whatever tool you like to use. Okay, so we've got 2 legs on this side. We sure need a head, don't we? But we've got 1 more leg here. Let's do that other leg. Heat up a little bit of glass, heat where it's going to go because you want it warm where you attach it down low, touch down to the ball. And how hot is it? Is it sinking in? Then you turn it upside down so it goes in that direction. Is it too thick there? You can either take your glass and move it along while it's hot, move it back up. You can hold it upside down. You can add another stripe of glass if your leg's too thin. A couple of dots if it's just like one place where it's too thin. You can do that too. Okay, all our legs are attached without seams for the attachments. This piece is getting a little small. We'll put it aside and we'll take another rod. So you have a couple of options now. I'm going to add the head first. But sometimes I like to add a collar onto this also, onto the dog. But let's get the head on first, but not the ears, because the ears can get in the way a little bit. And I'm just heating up another gather of glass. And I'm going to put it right on the end of this neck. What a coincidence, huh? It's just a ball. I push down a little bit. You can move it around if it's not in the right place afterwards, but just get some glass on there. Doesn't need to be huge because it's so much easier to add on a little bit of glass. You can see what the proportion is there. That's not the full head size, but it's the start. So at this point, when I've got that little bit of glass for the head, I decide whether I want the dog kind of looking to the side, straight on, what I want them to do. Being a lefty, I tend to have them face me more if I'm doing that, or I like straight ahead also. And whichever side I decide to do, that's the way that I press just a little bit. So we're going to have them go a little bit to the side, and see how I flatten that right there? We're going to build more head off of that. And at this point, this is a good time to put a collar on. Now here's the deal with the collars. I think encased stringer makes it a little bit easier than regular stringer. It kind of gives you a little bit more control. And as I say that, I'm looking to see what kind of encased stringer I left out. I think I have some purple here. This dog is getting a purple collar, and I start down low where you would have dog tags, and I like to start there because I can always cover a connection with a dog tag if I need to. And what I do is I just warm up a little bit, warm up the rest of my bead while that cools a little bit, and I start right in the center, and I go around in a circle. Boom. Has a collar on all the way around. So let's say the collar didn't turn out the way you had planned. Go over it with extra dots, turn it into a necklace, put black glass over the top of it and give your dog an extra thick neck, pull it off. But I would say add to it. If there's a question that it's not quite right, you can pull some off or just make a new one. Okay, so let's add some more glass here. And I just added a dollop. This still isn't going to be the full size of the head. But you can see what we have there while we're keeping the bead warm. Okay, so we're getting closer here, and we're going to start shaping it a little bit. The head goes up a little bit, and it goes down a little too far. We're going to pull that up. The face is in this direction. We're going to push back a tiny bit. And then we're going to add a muzzle. So you see what shape it is? It's kind of a rounded cone. And we're going to add the muzzle onto that while we're keeping the rest of the bead warm. And the muzzle goes on. It's just kind of like a big dot. And if the dot isn't big enough, add a little bit more. If it's not in the right place, heat it up and move it, or add to it or subtract from it. So let's go up like this. We gotta let it all kind of combine, but we're gonna give it a sec because this is so red, it makes it too juicy to really have it the way you want it to go. So I let everything cool before I go back to connect it. Remember how I like to connect everything? I don't want the lines there. Okay, and this is too much of a sharp angle there. So what I'll do is I'll heat right where it connects and kind of smooth that a little bit. See how that tiny little touch made such a difference? I'm going to hold it this end. We're still not where we want for the muzzle shape, but I wanted to show you there and that side too. Okay, so I'm going to show you what makes a huge difference, and that is adding the muzzle by doing a little cut up the center. So I let this part cool a little bit, and then I heat from underneath, and then I take my edge and just give it a cut up like that. See the difference that makes? You see it? It just kind of evens things out and makes it a little bit doggier. Okay, so now this dog being black, you aren't really going to see the legs. I mean, the eyes. Come on, Marcy, it's not that late. But I am going to make little indentations and little dots where they go. So I just heated up the area and pressed in there. We're going to do the same on the other side. Heat up, match it, press in. And we're going to add a little tiny bit of stringer in there. Let's heat up a little bit of this while we're keeping everything warm. So it's just like a big bead, an awkward shaped bead, but a big bead. And I'm just pulling a little bit of emergency stringer. It's not an emergency. I knew I was going to do this. Let it cool a little bit, take off the bump there. And before I do anything else, heat it back up again. Okay, so heat up the little divot, heat up a tiny bit of stringer, and pop it in. Now, if you want to go whole hog and put in some brown eyes, you can. The only problem is when you're working this small, sometimes it's hard to put in the black pupil over the top of it to get it small enough that it looks right. So we need a little bit of a nose. We can use our little stringer there too. Tiny little bit. And we're going to heat it up again, and I just take a tool and press it down and in. And different dogs have different types of noses. I think this one, hopefully you can see that. I'm going to turn it around. Slightly different angle so you can see. And then pop him back into the flame. I guess it's a her, huh, with purple. It can be either. Doesn't matter. So now we have the ears and the tail left. The way I look at it when I'm doing sculpture is I don't want whatever I'm making to be out in the air too much. That's what cools things off easily. So the tail's going to go on last. This one is closer to the center of the heat with the legs, so the legs can go on first. Okay, so I'm going back behind the eyes and just doing a little swoosh down. And if it were a lab, it goes forward, and then it kind of turns into kind of like a little bit of a funny triangle shape, like that. Can you see that? So we'll do the same on the other side, and then we'll see whether we need to do anything else to it. Heat up just a little bit of glass behind the eye, go down, not too far. Add a little glass, and it kind of goes down a little closer in the front. See that? Almost there. We still have bead to keep warm and a tail to put on it. So let's get the tail done. I'm heating up some glass, heating up where the tail's going to go, and I tend to look at how do I want this bead to be in a photo. So I'm seeing, is it this angle? Is it this angle? I think I like this side the best. So I want the tail to show on the side that I'm probably going to photograph it on. I'm heating this up, attaching, push down, and I'm going to keep the tail a little bit close to the body. It just kind of makes it safer. I could make it stick out, but I kind of like it down and in. So there you go. There's the tail. We got everything: collar, legs, tail, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. And let's see, do I want a little bit of anything on the red ball? We can add a little bit of purple to go with the collar, because I still have it sitting out here. How about if we just add a little something right around the edge? Done. I'm just heating it in. There we go. Got the dog. And we, my friends, have a balance bead with 2 beads in one with the air in between. And they're really cool when you take them off the mandrel. Hey, thanks for joining me. I'm so glad that you could. And let's see, let's get this nice and close. Here, here, and there you go. Take care, everybody. Stay safe and healthy. This is Marcy Lamberson. Bye.